Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Boss Women Network Roundtable discussion. Thank you all for taking the time out of your schedule to be here today. Today's conversation is titled Redefining Friendships Beyond Restaurant Choices. We're exploring how friendships evolve, why deeper connections matter, and how we can build relationships that go beyond convenience or routine meetups. So before we begin, here are a few quick guidelines to help us allow the conversation to move smoothly. Keep your responses concise so everyone can have a space to contribute. So before we get started, I would like for everyone to introduce themselves. I'm excited to guide this roundtable today. I am Leilani, your host. The purpose of this discussion is to create an open space where we can explore how friendships look in the current season of life, personally, professionally, emotionally, and socially. Today, I would like for you to introduce yourself, tell us your name, what you do, and how this topic relates to you.
I can go first. Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
my name is Cashe Arrielle. I am a publicist and communications partner, also the founder of Purposely Public Agency, which is a PR and branding agency. What friendship means to me? To me, friendship is support, honesty, and alignment in both life and business. Having people in your corner who genuinely want to see you grow and hold you accountable and just have genuine love. That's how I feel friendship should be and pour into each other. And I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm not sure where everyone else is from.
Okay. Okay. I'm in H-Town, Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Who's next? Miss Patrice?
Sure. I'm in Houston too. So, hey, I'm
Okay.
actually from Baltimore. So, Patrice Garrison here. I'm the founder of Successful on Social. It's a marketing agency, and we help highlight their thought leadership. In that journey, a lot of times we find that people are birthing their passion projects with us and they need support, right? We're doing so much as women. And so, this topic is near and dear to me because I get
Hmm.
to be part of that support system for women who are birthing that passion project or that mission they've always had, but I get to be that for them. But I'm seeing how little community we have when it comes to either our purpose, just everyday life, motherhood, all the things. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thank you for joining us. All right. And how do you pronounce your name? Is it Dahara
It's
or Dara?
Dhara. Dhara.
Dara.
Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Dara.
Another Houstonian also.
Okay.
Originally from the West Coast, though. I'm from Seattle, so go Seahawks. I am Dhara Mistry. I am an executive leadership coach and a fractional HR leader. I've been in corporate for 15 years and branched off to start my own business and no regrets. Friendship. I think this year I think in the astrology realm, they're talking about it's the year of the serpent and shedding and whatnot. And let me tell you, we have shedded many of those relationships. And again,
Mm,
also no regrets. So I think I'm here to normalize that we don't need to be friends with people forever. Sometimes we outgrow friendship, and that is completely normal. And I think as women, sometimes we take it too personal.
yeah.
And it's in some, unfortunately, some friendships are seasonal, and I think it's okay to embrace that.
All right. Mrs. Radesha, is that how you pronounce your name? Hi, Miss
Yes.
Radesha. So basically, I don't know if you heard, but we're just introducing ourselves and telling us where you're from and how does this topic relate to you?
Yes, my name is Radesha, and I'm in Texas at the moment by way of the DMV.
Okay, that was.
Yeah, yeah. So my company is Queens Don't Settle. I have a podcast, which is Queens Don't Settle as well, and my book is called Queens Don't Settle. I'm in healthcare as far as the 9 to 5 right now. In terms of the topic with friendships, we I am in a space where I think I'm reevaluating all of that. I've been healing and growing and evolving, and in doing that, some things have come into my awareness, and I feel like to some degree, maybe I need to completely wipe the slate clean and start completely afresh because I think there's a lot of it just seems like in the world a lot of us are waking up and sometimes we realize some people in our lives are not friends. Maybe we've mislabeled them. Maybe they're just associates or coworkers. This is a topic I am certainly in the midst of navigating myself.
Well, thank you for joining us today. All right, ladies. So let's go ahead and dive into the first question or discussion. Why outings don't define friendship? Let's start with how friendships have often been defined by meetups, brunch, lunch, dinner, and outings and activities. How did grabbing a bite become the default and way we measure connection? And why do surface level outings sometimes replace deeper conversations? And has anyone ever gained anything from those type of outings or meetings to where you actually built some deeper connections in going out for meetups and things like that in friendships?
We're gonna
Anyone?
start. Okay, I was gonna say I can pop in there. So I think that in a lot of our relationships, romantic, family, friendship, we go into a default in a lot of different ways. And I have a background in psychology, so I'm gonna be bringing that here today. What I've noticed is that we assume that when you hit 18, you know how to be a friend, you know how to be a partner, you know how to be an adult, daughter to your mom or the mother figure, etc. And we just get thrust out into the world. Well, you're grown and you should know. And we still hold that true as we go through life. You're a mom, you should know. You have this corporate job, you're a C-suite leader, you should know. But we don't often get that hand holding and get taught what we should be expecting from others and how we should show up. And so we always hear complaints. Oh, well, I don't have those relationships. Adult friendships are so hard. But then what we end up, not when I ask, well, what's that mean? Or how do you show up? Well, they should be doing this for me. And so I wanted to answer your question directly. The one meetup that comes to mind was a new mom. She had like a really challenging pregnancy and was just sitting in the house. And if you're a mom, you get it. You're sitting there with the newborn. If you have any of your own medical issues, you're sitting with your own medical issues. And so it's just you against the world, honestly. And so for us in this particular case, the let's call it to eat was all I knew because it's like that's what we get taught. But give me
Right.
the baby also. Don't just come and sit with me while I eat and listen to you vent. Give me the baby. Okay, and you sit there and you have your glass of wine, and so it needs to be a step beyond just us sitting in the seat. How can I show up for you now that I've done the first step?
Mm.
I agree. Just to chime in, I think that when it comes to people, the first thing people say is, "Let's grab a cup of coffee," or, let's go to dinner and let's discuss business over dinner. I think that watching movies over time or just thinking that that's what makes you look like a luxury lifestyle. If we go sit down and have lunch or dinner and we have our notepads out or we have our suits on, that makes us look more sophisticated. So more so an aesthetic than actually a conversation. Because half the time we'll get together and we're talking about everything but the business.
Right.
We're talking about everything but the business. We're talking about how the food may taste. We're talking about what happened today or yesterday, but we're not getting into the meat of the actual business and how we can
Mm.
work together. And that's one thing that I'm very passionate about and I'm longing for when it comes to women collaborating or people just collaborating in general is how do we go from going to an event, exchanging information, or if I see you on Threads or Instagram and we exchange information, how do we get it to go from just exchanging information to actually something actually happening? And I don't see that enough. I see a lot of let's do this or I have this idea, but there's never an actual see through. And I think that if we just get to that part, then we can worry about having dinner and lunch later.
Mm. Anybody else? Well, I will say that in my experience, I have never had any connections after going to lunch or meetups and things like that. Like I have experienced the same thing that you're talking about. Like we'll make the connection, we'll exchange phone numbers, and then it's really not much after that. But what I did learn is when I'm doing business with men, I don't have the same issues. And even though they're not like coming at me for anything personal, it's more so they're serious about the business. So when we do talk, we're not meeting up for lunch. We're not doing any of that. We talk about the business over the phone and then we get it handled. There's no personal conversations. There's no other things going on. So every time we do discuss things, it's all about what did you get done? What have I worked on? What have you have worked on? And then what are we moving forward? What are we doing next? But when I meet with women, we talk about our marriages, our kids, our personal lives. Like you said, we get thrown off from all the other things. And then some kind of way, the women end up judging each other based on their personal lives, and it interferes with the relationship developing. And then we don't even want to deal with each other because we've heard too much stuff about what's going on in your life. Now we don't want to work together, or we're not vibing anymore. So I think that may be the issue. I don't know, but in my experience, it seems like that could be one of the issues.
And that's so funny that you said that because I literally just left a nonprofit mentoring program that I'm a part of. And there's a guy, he's a part of the program with myself, and he flips houses. Completely different than what I want to do, right? I'm in a whole nother space. But it doesn't mean that he can't pour into me or he can't give me advice. And he literally, I was like, I'm gonna do this 30 days of content to prepare for 2026. And he stopped me. Like, this is one thing that I could say when you have male friends. They take the emotion out of everything. And that's the one time you need a man to be emotionalist. Cause he was like, no, you're gonna worry about today. Like, you're not worried about next year. You're gonna start today or tomorrow. We're not looking at 2026 yet. We still got the rest of 2025 to get through. So you're positioning yourself for now, not for 2026. And when he
Right.
said it, I was like, I couldn't even argue with it. But if it was me talking to another woman, she would have been like, yeah, girl, let's start getting ready for 2026. You know what I'm saying? So just having that male perspective, just to piggyback off what you're saying, I just literally dealt with that, where it's going back and forth trying to have, because the most of the times what it is it's like a trauma competition, or it's like a I got more on my plate than you do type thing, or
Right.
everything I say, you're coming back with a rebuttal of how you went through the same thing and worse. Like, and then we're not getting anywhere.
All right, we'll move on to the next question. All right, so defining meaningful friendships today. Moving on. What truly defines a meaningful friendship? Like, what elements matter most? Like honesty, consistency, communication, or emotional availability? And how intentionality shapes connection. What does meaningful friendships really look like to you today?
If I can start there,
Okay.
kind of piggybacking off the last topic and bringing it over here,
Okay.
there are different types of friendship. And I think you nailed it. We come in and we're like, it's a woman.
Right.
And what we should be doing is saying, hey, I need to have my core friends. I used to be a life coach. So we used to work from the life coaching wheel. And so there was spiritual, there was, your finances, there was your overall physical health. There was all kinds of things that you're playing in romantic. So it's this wheel that's supposed to encompass who you are. And the same thing goes for our relationships. One relationship can't hit all these different sectors of your wheel. And so when you're walking in and you're like, oh man, like what's meaningful to me, people will bring my whole life, right? I need you to be my support
Everything.
financially, right? My business partner, my maid, my whatever, all these different things. And we put these expectations on people. And unfortunately, we all have a different bucket of what we
Right.
need, right? And so you're a bad friend because you didn't know magically. And I've been a bad friend from the standpoint of not knowing that I had expectations I didn't communicate. So it's like, I moved to Houston, right, from Baltimore. I had a friend that, I literally felt like in her, times of trouble, I'm holding her up. I'm on the phone. I'm trying to make sure she got extra. We running a business together. I'm giving her what I got, right? And so when that time came and I needed someone, I did a bad job myself of saying, I need something different from you now, right? The meaning of this relationship, this friendship needs to shift where, like you mentioned, people think you're doing better than them. Oh,
Right.
she's good. But now and now I'm being let down because I didn't unfortunately know to communicate. Hey, can't y'all see I'm struggling? And so
Right.
they didn't know to jump in differently. So I think the meaning, to kind of answer your question, it does change, but we can't bring all of our problems to this particular connection, friendship, business, or otherwise, and expect them to be able to solve them all.
What about you, Miss Dara? Do you have anything on that?
Yeah, so I agree. I think we need to learn to embrace, and this is something that has been very front and center that I've learned personally going through it in 2025 is like we can have different friend groups and they will, to the point that we're talking about, fill the various buckets. But at the same time, I think, many of us, especially women, were like, longing for that like best friend. And honestly, I think the whole notion around one best friend is is kind of an archaic thought. I don't know if that really exists anymore. Like when we were all
Mhm.
younger, like we had our one best friend, our ride or die.
Right.
And as, the world has evolved, we're a lot evolving, growing, learning, and really doing the hard work. I've come to realize that we can have many best friends that fit different wheels of life. I also do life coaching, so I resonated with that.
Oh, okay.
And being able to be okay with that. Like in my life, I have like two best friends, but they also serve different purposes. But then I
Mm.
also have like my PTA mom friends. I have my entrepreneur mom friends, and there's various buckets. And I think something that has brought me a lot of peace in this season is literally meeting people where they're at. And to the
Mm.
point of, if you're in this relationship or group of friends and you're expecting to fill all the 10 buckets, and then you're like, man, this group sucks or they suck, that's not true. Why don't you like zoom out and just think about like, okay, what are the qualities they're bringing that do bring me joy? And I think when we're able to kind of, you know think about it as like organizing our shoes, right? I know we all love shoes. And if you're putting on different pairs of shoes, they're going to feel different. They're going to, wear different, and you're going to need them for different moments. And, friends are kind of like that. And I think nowadays with social media in the mix, right? We're meeting people in so many different vehicles, right? Like who would have thought I would meet amazing women through threads, and here we are having a
Yeah,
conversation,
true.
right? So you just never know how you're going to meet people, and meeting them where they're at and being able to accept them in that moment and in that category is a beautiful thing. And we shouldn't expect, one person, it can't be a one size fits all shoe, right? Like
Right.
I like to wear different shoes every day. And so I think it's kind of just keeping that in mind. And, obviously, as Patrice said, like being able to articulate our needs from them properly and respectfully. And I think the last point I wanted to make is not getting so like blinded by everyone else's relationships, having patience with ourselves that you will find your people, and it will
Mm.
take time, right? I know there's people, I mean, I witnessed it myself earlier this year where I'm just like, man, they're really close. And you like try to like insert yourself, and it's icky. It's
Yeah.
not flowing. That's not my shoe size. So you just gotta step
Hmm.
back and just kind of go to a few different stores, and you'll eventually find that perfect shoe.
I like your analogy on that one. What about you, Isha? You said you were kind of starting over completely with friends this year. What is your experience and what do you feel about friendship?
Reevaluating, definitely reevaluating. So I think in general, everyone needs something different, right? I don't know if I would necessarily be playing the devil's advocate here, but I don't think people have 20 besties. I don't think people have 10
No.
besties, okay? I think you have definitely different people that can fill the different buckets. You have, your brunch friends, your church friends, you have your travel buddies, you have your coworkers, right? They are in their different categories, but I don't think you have, 10 besties. You know, I'm a I'm a fan of what is it, Sex and the City, and it was only three of them, right?
Yeah, true.
I could see three best friends, right? Usually less than a handful, but meaningful, when I think of something, meaningful, there has to be effort from both sides. I think we tend to often hold space or be able to hold space for people that oftentimes are not able to do the same for you. And I just don't think that's fair, to one person to always be the glue that holds everything
Yeah,
together.
that's
And
not
so in
fair.
my experience, I'm adjusting. I've just been adjusting. And I know my tribe is out there, and I will, find them. I just think it's more about alignment. I
Yeah.
think for me, it's more about alignment as opposed to history. And I think sometimes we, tend to hold on to people just based on history as opposed to actual connection, compatibility, or alignment in the present moment. So just again, in terms of meaningful friendships, I think there has to be mutualism, right?
Mm.
Reciprocity for me is not necessarily keeping score, but it is about mutualism. We both should feel loved. We should both feel seen, and we both should be putting in the effort to ensure that, the connection, stays there between us. It can't be one-sided.
I agree. Did anyone else want to say anything regarding this topic before we move on?
I would just say that I agree with everything everyone said. I recently, within the last year, I had a very, very close friend. We did business and everything together. It was like family. And we recently, I had to finally, after giving so many chances, like Radesha was saying, where, you keep making excuses for why, you're pouring or you're showing up more, but then you see that they can show up or pour for others in the capacity you're expecting. Then it becomes
Mm-hmm.
a thing of like, okay, I can't continue to make this excuse because what I'm seeing is just what it is. And then when it becomes a thing of if I'm approaching the situation and I'm voicing how I feel about it, and then it gets flipped on me, now I'm the bad guy for voicing how
Yep.
I feel hurt or feel confused as to what's going on, then that for me is just a dead end because there's no getting through. It's like talking to a wall. So it's like
Yep.
at that point, I have to make the best decision for my peace and for my energy. And if that looks like us disconnecting, then that's what we have to do. I feel meaningful relationships is ones that again that are aligned where everyone show up when they can and where they can. As Dhara was saying, you have friends for different purposes. And I think at our big ages, a lot of people do not know how to balance their friends. So,
Right.
you have some people who they don't want you to have other friends. So they're willing to go the extra mile to cause division in your other friendships.
Yes, I've
And I'm just
experienced
not
that.
one of those people. Like, if you have other friends for other purposes, I get it. But just don't leave me hanging out to dry. Like, you know what I'm saying? Have your fun over there. But I'm also one that when time causes for occasions and things like that, I'm the one that will say, whether it's for birthdays or whatever. If it's my birthday, I want all my friends there. I'm not being selective in that moment. But if there's a business meeting over here and then I only have friends over here who I just maybe have a glass of wine with, but I have friends that we go to business networking events, no, I wouldn't bring the two together because
Right.
separate. But I think when it comes to like birthdays and things like that, there should be no reason why you feel like, well, I can only invite this group to my birthday because it's like, well, your birthday should be meaningful for all your friends versus the different hats you wear in your life on a daily basis. So I think that it's just about people not knowing how to balance their friendships. And that's
Right.
something that people have to learn how to do.
Okay. All right, I guess we'll move on to the next one. Expectations and boundaries in friendships. As we grow, our expectations around friendships kind of shift. How have your expectations changed over time? Areas where boundaries have become necessary, and how to distinguish between casual associates and true allies.
That's a loaded one.
Yeah.
I think everyone's going to have a little something to say on this. If you don't mind, I'd like to start. Boundaries with friends. I think I loved how you said, some people are acquaintances, colleagues, and such. And, I really have done a 180 and been labeling people accordingly as well because it does change how you refer to them. It level sets mentally your expectations and you naturally just set boundaries. If you're saying, oh, Patricia's my best friend, and then, you're saying Radesha, oh, she's a colleague, like, you have different categories and boundaries naturally set. And I think it's so natural, especially as women. I feel like we're very just like nurturing that when we meet someone, we're like, oh, that's my girl, right? And that's true. We can all be girls, but at the same time, in certain situations, it's okay to say, oh yeah, I know someone. Oh, I met her through a friend. She's not necessarily my friend, but yes, I know of her, right? Especially with social media. I feel like I've met a lot of remarkable women, and I would in my head associate just for the fact that we met at an event or whatever that we're like friends. But in reality, I'm like, actually, we're not. I know her. We've
Right.
collaborated in partners. Like I ran into a whole situation just yesterday where, I texted one of the girls I was going and she's like, cool. And then when we got there, like the vibes were off. And so it's like, oh, do you know so and are you guys friends? And I was so proud of myself. I was like, yeah, I actually know her. I met her through social media, but no, we're not close friends, you know? And by me rewiring that allowed me to like check the vibes and not judge her or that moment. You know, because that's a shame on me for assuming just because we've exchanged a few texts and met up in social settings that we're girls, because we're not, clearly. You know, and I think that's okay. So I think labeling friendships and certain, or not friendships, labeling relationships in such matter, I think helps us naturally confine them in certain ways and will help us remind ourselves the appropriate boundaries to set. And, you know, another thing, and I know Patrice touched on this, is communication. Like I teach a lot of this, especially to corporate professionals. I'm like, you can't assume you're a great manager just because you said something. Like you have to think about how you delivered it, who you delivered it to, how it's received, do the follow-up, all the things, right? Like there's a whole art behind communications. So I do agree in relationships, you know, being able to respectfully communicate with appropriate timing, right? I
Mm,
think timing is everything. If someone's having an off day and you want to like deliver like, hey, something intense, like hopefully you can read the room to reassess that
mm,
moment, right? But I think labeling friendship or relationships accordingly and being able to articulate your needs, desires, or even not articulating, because sometimes we don't need to overshare. And I think as women, we tend to do that,
right.
and I think not everyone deserves to know your whole story. And
Mm,
more than that, honestly, the truth is not everyone wants to know it either. You know, and so it's understanding who's actually listening and wants to learn, wants to get to know your inner soul, because not everybody does. And I'm a deep person, so I love getting deep with people, and I realize
me
not
too.
everyone likes that. And so I have
Right.
to take a step back, you know, to be like, okay,
Mm,
maybe they just want to talk about their to-do list, and that's okay,
mm,
you know. So learning to read the room and such.
And I will say, I love everything that you just said. And I will say too, when it comes to expectations and boundaries, I think at the ages that we are, and I keep saying this because I'm sure most of us are in our 30s or might be in our late 20s, early 30s, whatever the case may be. I feel that, so because we're still in that weird space where we like the auntie and the, or the big sister and little sister at the same time type situation. I feel like it's a thing of, because sometimes people take their past issues and they bring them into situations. So initially, you might get mixed signals because someone may be trying to talk to you. You guys could be talking about, you have the same business or same idea or thought process, right? When it comes to a certain topic. So you're talking, you're engaging, and then it begins to trickle into other things. And you're like, okay, this is going good. This might be someone that I can talk to. This might be my homegirl. And then magically out of nowhere, the energy just shifts. And it's not like within the conversation, it's once that phone came up, because now you're like, okay, well, we were having such a great rapport with one another. What happened? What changed? Now you're not talking to this person for weeks at a time, may not talk to them ever again after that conversation, but it seemed like it was something that could be a long-term thing. And I think, again, like Patrice said, like Dhara said, it's communication, one, but sometimes people will talk to you just long enough to get what they need from you. And
mm,
so if you have something that they need, or they're trying to navigate a certain space and you seem to have cracked the code on it, of course they're going to make it look like they were genuinely trying to build a relationship. And then now you're thinking, now like Dara said, now you're becoming deep with this person, not because you did it voluntarily or involuntarily. It was just a thing of, you thought that that's where you both were, but they had other motives and intentions. So it's really about discernment when it comes down to boundaries, when it comes down to expectations. It's really just about having discernment, going in without giving everything. Like she said, everybody doesn't need to know everything. Everyone doesn't need to know everything you know. Everyone doesn't need to know what all you've ever experienced. Have a conversation, gauge them, just like they're gauging you. And then you can see with discernment, you can hear, see, feel if this is something that is just supposed to be a one-sided thing, or if this is something that will lead, because people will talk themselves. If you talk long enough, you'll find out what people really are about and what they want to do. I think just having that strong discernment and knowing and placing people where they belong. Like once someone shows you something, it doesn't mean that, okay, now I'm never going to talk to this person again. No, I just know how to deal with you accordingly. So if you're just one of those friends that I have a 5-minute conversation with, then you're that 5-minute conversation with person. If you're just someone that I see in and out, going in and out of a door, then you're that person that I'll just wave in and, see in and out the door. We're not going to give people more time and energy than what's needed. That's basically what it is.
Makes sense. I got a question. How do you handle it when, because I've experienced this. I know y'all say something about having different groups of friends. A situation where you may have brought two of those people or three of those people together from those different groups, but then one left feeling or maybe felt like she wasn't on the level as this other group, you know what I mean? And maybe feeling like you treat them differently because you are in this other group because they're never around in that group. Sometimes maybe the group is a more professional group versus this young lady over here. She's just getting started with her business, and these people over here are well off and more professional in their careers. And so the other person feels kind of like you look at them as beneath you when you really don't. It's just a different environment. I mean, I can't really explain it, but can you understand what I'm saying?
Get what you
Because that
saying.
has happened to me, and I didn't mean to make the person feel that way. I had a situation where one of the girls from this group, it seemed like she didn't really like me having other friends. So, like, maybe she would try to sabotage anybody that I brought around. It took me a minute to notice it because I wasn't noticing at first. I noticed every time I would introduce her to somebody, maybe after a while, those people started acting strange with me, and I finally started putting it together because I wasn't understanding what's going on. I'm building her up, I'm advertising her, telling her how great she is, but then every time I introduce, these people start acting weird with me once she connects with them. And then the other young lady that I brought around, trying to get her around a different level of people, she made her, I guess whatever she said to her made her feel like I felt like she was less than when I'm trying to elevate her to this group. So these are type of situations that I've experienced. Have any of you experienced that?
I have. And I would say this, you can't handle other people's insecurities. A lot of times people have their own insecurities that they have to work out. But then you also got to read the room. Because like I said, I know my friends, I know people, like I know I'm not gonna say I know my friends. Let me say this. I know personalities. I know
Mm,
people, I know personalities that's just not gonna mesh. I know me, and I know there's certain places and people that I'm okay with not going around my actual friends, other friends, because I know how I am. I know I'm in a whole different mind space. The way I think, the way I move is completely different than what I see. And you learn a lot too from social media. Like you can look at social media and see how people do their day to day or just the content, some of the content they post, and you're kind of like, okay, I love the way they think. Or yeah, they're cool, but I wouldn't, get with them off of social media or whatever the case
right.
may be. So if it's someone purposely sabotaging or they're trying to make you feel bad for having other friends, then one, that's possessive. Secondly, insecurities is another issue. And just don't put them back into the same rooms again. And like I said, some people, and the fact that you said, I know Patrice wanted to say something, so I'm gonna wrap this up. But the fact that you said that a lot of the people that you bring into certain circles, they're then connecting and trying to quickly get connected with the people you're bringing them and introducing them to, and then those people start treating you weird. 9 times out of 10, that said individual was only trying to connect with you to get close to your contacts, to get close to the
Mm-hmm.
people you know, but they can't handle that because they're not in that space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're no longer, I had to cut them off because I didn't like that type of energy. I can't, because I'm too much of a giving person. And I can't be celebrating you and then you're not celebrating me. You're making me look bad, having conversations about me. And I'm trying to tell people that you're just excellent, you know. So what did you have on that, Patrice?
Yeah, I wanted to share because this, coming from folks like ourselves, we're all business owners. We all are out here building and growing. And one of the things that I had to realize is that I could not bring my ministry to my friendships. There were some people who I was literally called to serve, and they were not supposed to come into the fold. There's people who were supposed to pay me And I felt bad about that because, oh my God, look at where they are. They aren't where they want to be yet. I can help them. I can help them. And I called them a friend. And I had to start using friendship or stop using friendship as a bridge between my ministry and my need to build actual friends that pour back into me. And so I think Dhara mentioned this going into 2025. It's like, I had a lot of shifting around because, like we said, everyone is not, you can have those, yes, mommy mode. Everyone's not built to be or pour back into. And so when I saw that, it's like, oh, you're supposed to be a client. And that's it.
Ah,
And if you're not ready to pay me, you can watch my YouTube videos, you can watch social media. But I had this blurred line between if you were kind to me and you liked my content or you liked my business or you liked what I had to offer, that because they were nice, they were now a friend. And so I think
right.
going back to everything that was kind of shared, there are some people who are again just that associate. Like Dhara said, hey, I know you because you watched my YouTube that one time. And I think you're super sweet, but I still have a barrier of entry going back to boundaries. And my new test is can I ask you I don't ask people for anything. I'm very like, oh, I don't ever ask people for I'll be asking now. I be asking because if you aren't willing to pour back in, you get cut right off at the door,
Right.
you pay, and that energy exchange, we deserve to be exchanged with, right? And so if it's not
Yes.
going to be money and it's not going to be time, it's not going to be care, it's not going to be reciprocal, then at this point, I have to wish you well and you are welcome to my way of pouring out is through my content, is through my free stuff, it's through my school. You can consume any of that as you need to. But that intimate level of I'm bringing you in and I'm hyping you up, I love doing it. I love pouring.
Me
But
too. Gosh.
I had to put that gate on it. And now I do because I was starting to get resentful. Right. So now I'm turning
Mm,
my gift, and my gift is now causing me poison because I'm misusing it. And so now going into this year, it's like, you know what? It's fewer friends, right? But it feels really good because the folks I know I can call my friends now, and if I say I need sugar, if I say I need a jump to my car, if I say any of that, I couldn't do that. And I had hundreds of people around me being a coach. Now it's very few, but I know when I call them, they got me.
I'm so happy for you with that.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said that. You're speaking to me right now because I'm in that space because for so long when I started my agency or anything I've ever done in the years I've been an entrepreneur, I knew I needed to be paid, but because I was so passionate, I wanted to help people. And over the last year of me just going through a cleanse and shedding and all of that, even just rebranding, it was like, I don't know if I can say God on here, but God
Yeah.
really just has shown me that a lot of the times I was wanting people to see what I see in them, and that was what was causing me frustration. So now I'm
Same.
at a point of I only want to work with people who know who they are and they own it and they're ready to work with me. And like you said, if this is a space of you can't afford my worth, if you can't afford what I charge, then yes, look at some of my free tips and strategies that I placed in the social media platforms. But when you're ready to become an actual client and do the work, then fine, because I got burnt so much from just burnout of doing too much, and then also financially listen to people's sob stories. They'll tell you, oh, I can't afford this or that, but then they're out shopping and doing all these
Mhm.
things, and now your household is lacking and my children are getting bigger, so the cost of living and along with the cost of raising my children has
Right.
increased. I can no longer, I would rather not work at all than to work for free. And so that's just
Mhm.
where I'm at with this. So I just wanted to say that. So thank you for bringing that up.
I just wanted to add a little tip, just and you may already been doing it, but I completely agree on like confusing business and friendship and overpouring and like giving your wisdom that people can actually, hire you for. I literally on my calendar, I have one that's already set up for just a consulting chat and a fee tied to that. So you don't have to be a full-blown coaching client, but if you want to pick my brain and you want information, here's a 30-minute or a 60-minute, book some time and we can chat it up and I can get my worth and you could get yours. And I've just been
Mm.
like sending, so when people slide into my DMs, they're like, oh, I have a question on this. I'm just like, wonderful, I'd love to chat. Here's a link.
Mm. I'm gonna
So
start sending that link.
I'm telling you, man, we got to do it.
Seriously. Okay. Let me move on to the Next question here. The main question, building connections beyond restaurants. Let's talk about new ways to build authentic connection. Collaborations, shared projects, brainstorming sessions, accountability partnerships or co-working sessions, are activities that build trust and consistency. So what do you think about building relationships now? What is your technique for that now? Is it just collaborations or are you just going to restaurants to meet up still?
I'm not going. I'm sorry.
Me either.
I'm not going to restaurants. I don't think that we need to like sit down and eat to if we want to do something, we're going to do it. And see, me, I'm one to execute. And it's so funny because I recently had someone, I have a nonprofit as well. And I recently did a Thanksgiving give back with the shutdown and everything. I wanted to feed some families and give them Thanksgiving dinner. And that they were groceries. I didn't cook anything. And there was someone in my nonprofit class that was like, "Oh, I want to join with you." And this was our first time meeting up. And I'm like, "Okay, well, cool. You had your own nonprofit. Let's collab." And when I tell you, it was a nightmare. It was like the worst 5 days of my life. Like, I mean, they never brought the food, never
Oh
did.
no.
Then we would get on calls. She would say like, "Oh, I don't want to spend my own money." And I'm like, "Okay, so you want me and my donors to put everything together, but you telling me the people you want to go feed." And so at the end, it ended up flipping on her because I collected my own families and I did what I needed to do for the families I knew of, because then I start finding out that these were personal people she knew, and I was trying to actually feed families that I did not know, or that was affected by the shutdown or not having a job and things like that, or single parents. And so I still felt good, my mission still got accomplished, but I feel like you just, and that's where that discernment thing comes in, because people will quickly latch on to your idea, or people will see you do something, and you may notice, you might talk to somebody and you all are talking about all these different ideas, but nothing ever happens. And then when they
Right.
see you actually execute the idea, then that's when they want to come and try to hop on at the end when the results are coming out. And it's like,
Right.
no, we're not doing one-sided things. If we're going to team up to do this, let's team up and do it. Because me, I don't like to sit on things anymore, because I feel like God gets upset with me when I do that. Like, if he gives me an idea, I need to go ahead and execute. I don't need to question where the resources and things like that are going to come from. Let's just think positive. Let's just get things going. But I do think that, just being upfront and saying, "Hey, you do this, I do this. Let's come together and do something impactful." I think that can be done without us having to go to a restaurant and look fake professional, to do something. Like, it's like, let's just do it. That's me though.
I have not had the great experience with the collaboration because I don't know, I guess because I bring a lot to the table. And I don't know if it's intimidating or what, but I bring a lot to the table. And a lot of times, I have collaborated, every time we would have a meeting, I'm always prepared. I have a whole itinerary lined up of what I bring to the table, what I'm going to do. And then every time we would meet, even though these people have businesses, we would get there, they didn't have anything together, nothing written down, nothing lined up. Then it would end up being me doing most of the work. So I have gotten to a point now going into 2026, I am no longer collaborating. I need to see what you bring to the table. What are you offering? When we sit down and have a meeting or we conversate, I need to know what you're bringing to the table going forward, because I can't be doing all the work and you're just there to show up and look pretty. That's not going to work.
And sometimes it's just as simple as, if somebody posts something, we don't necessarily have to collaborate because our personalities may not even mesh like that. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's like, give people a feel, see what people are actually out here doing, because social media can be a facade. Social media can look a certain
Yes.
way, and you're thinking like, "Oh, this person got this many followers, or this person is doing this." And I mean, I relocated to Atlanta in 2022. One thing I will say is, it's definitely a lot of smoke and mirrors in Atlanta. Like, you know what I'm
Really.
saying? And I'm sure everywhere, but in Atlanta, because I grew up in the Atlanta music and things like that was like, "Oh, that's the place to go to. It's the Black Hollywood, is this, is that."
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, it still has some of those qualities, but a lot of things on social media when it comes to certain areas, cities, and states, it's be a lot of smoke and mirrors. People that you think have a ton of money because they have a ton of followers, it don't be that at all. And and that's where I jump started my agency. So trust me, I done been through it all where, I done got ran off on when it came to payments and all type of
Mhm.
for collaboration. And one thing people will do, a lot of things, the word they use a lot, I don't know about in Texas, but in Atlanta, they use the word intern a lot. Everybody wants you to be their intern, or I'm
Oh,
accepting
really?
interns. It's like people is 50 years old. Don't nobody want to be an intern at 50. Like, pay these people. No one wants to work
Yeah.
for free. The economy is crazy right now. Like, if you can't pay these people, then intern for yourself. Do it yourself. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because at this age now, even college students need some form of money to make it.
Mhm.
Their parents are suffering back home. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you have to just be open and be honest. But a lot of times when it does come to collaboration, like you said, you're thinking everybody got these ideas and then they're banking on your idea. They're banking on what
Right.
you're gonna do. And then next thing you know, you're the only one executing it, but everybody wants the praise for it, right? Everybody wants the
Hmm.
recognition for it.
Yes,
And
exactly.
some people will work with you and then that's it. Whatever you do for them, that's it. And then that's over with. Like, there's no further. And I had to learn that. I had to learn, even when I was an intern a few years ago, I had to learn that just because you intern for someone doesn't mean that or guarantee loyalty. It doesn't guarantee or mean that you're going to be long friends with them or anything. Some of it is just business. People are just trying to
Yeah.
get what they want. And once that is filled, they're on to the next person that they can get things from. I would say just definitely read the rooms and just look out the people you want to collaborate with. Just watch how they work, watch how they move.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And then eventually y'all can have that conversation just to keep things safe, not jump right into things.
Yeah, I've definitely had some lessons within the last years, a few years. So 2026 is all new. Anybody else? How are you creating relationships going forward?
Yeah,
Building.
I just wanted to add on to what Kasha said is I think we also want to embrace patience and timing. Just because we meet someone doesn't mean we need to like execute on something immediately for like catching a vibe or still figuring people out.
Right.
I think it's good to give people the benefit of the doubt. I think it's great to have an initial conversation virtually to think about an idea, but we don't need to feel pressured to do it if things aren't fully aligned. Like you can
Right.
connect and like reconnect again and maybe there'll be more alignment and synergy. I don't think one conversation should lead to an output if we're feel
Mm.
like, you know what, this I don't know. Like I mean, I had to say no to something recently where we originally talked, the person was like very aggressive about it, and then I just had to tell her, it was like, look, I am interested. I don't think the timing right now is really aligned with
Mm-hmm.
me, but
Mm-hmm.
let's connect, like let's talk again at the end of February. And I think it's okay to say that, and still keep the lines of communication and the possibility open and keep that positive energy and flow, but not feel
Yeah.
pressured to commit in that moment or commit after that one call, because you can meet someone somewhere, like we can all meet virtually and then have an offline conversation and say, hey, let's do something, have that conversation and realize, okay, there could be something here, but I don't think right now is the moment. So let's just
Mhm.
continue to build our relationship and let's reconnect, and I think it's okay for that. Like it doesn't have to be a now or never, I think. And I think sometimes as women, especially as entrepreneurs, I mean, I caught myself doing this a lot in the beginning, or I felt like I had to act now or it's never going to happen, and
Mm.
that's not the case. Like we can have a slow build and really, see what can be when the timing and the stars and everything are aligned, right? Because then the signs of readiness and everything will just fall into place.
Communication is key, that's for sure. Even you communicating that to the person rather than just showing up and not being prepared is a totally different story. You actually let them know maybe this is just not the time
Yeah,
and not
and
just.
being able to say that, right? Because I think people
Mhm.
always worry about, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings, but avoiding them is going to make it weird, especially if you end up having a better connection with someone else and then you execute. So just, respectfully just say, I don't think this is aligning for me right now. And just let them know. Is it going to feel uncomfortable? Absolutely. Are their feelings going to get hurt a little bit? Probably.
Probably,
But it's
but they can
better
respect
than,
it.
yeah, and it's better than them seeing you do something else and then drawing another whole opinion like, oh my God, she's just, fake and lied to me, right? That's worse. So I would rather them accept that, okay, timing didn't work, timing worked for that one, and reconnect.
I love it. Anybody else on building relationships going forward? What is your path to building stronger or deeper connections now versus the past? Radesha, did you have anything to say on that?
Just be authentic. I mean, be authentic and have an authentic or have that intention. I think in today's day, I think a lot of things are very performative, and a lot of us, some of us have the intuition and we can feel that from certain people. And me personally, I don't want anyone putting on a performance. If I know that I'm showing up genuinely and wanting to connect with someone, that's sort of what I'm expecting in return.
Yeah.
Another thing is something I've done sort of recently is when I do meet someone, just let's talk about what you're looking for, right? We do that in relationships, or if there's a romantic partner, you're gonna ask, what are you looking for, right? So maybe as a woman, you're in a space where you just want a movie friend. You want someone to go to the restaurant with, you want someone to travel with. How about we communicate that instead of making an assumption, right? Actually speak about and communicate what you're looking for. You may be building a business, or you are looking for other business women, right? So I think going forward, I will definitely continue doing that and just communicating what I'm looking for, because I think we tend to make assumptions sometimes too, or have unrealistic expectations. And it's just important to kind of communicate that. But authenticity is always going to win out, because those performances, being performative, there's nothing genuine about that. And I agree, is it Cashe? Okay. With the discernment part, you have to have that discernment, because people absolutely latch on and want to feed off your energy and not feed you. And that's something it took me a while to learn that is you
Yeah.
can feed people. People will feed off of you and they're not feeding you. And I had to learn the difference in that. So now my whole thing is mutualism. It's mutualism. So that's how I will move going forward.
All right. Well, for me, it's more of alignment now. I used to be the one, I would see somebody online and be like, oh yeah, I think we could probably collaborate on business. And I would reach out and we would meet and talk. And I get excited about new business ventures and being able to collaborate with people. So I'd be ready to bring whatever I'm bringing to the table and help you if you need some help with something. But I've been burned in those areas. I had to learn that everybody, they're not like you. They don't have the same spirit or the same heart as you. So I had to learn that, 'cause sometimes I'm be the one that's kind of too nice. I say I'm the nice person, and I'm learning not to be such a nice person all the time. Sometimes you can't be, especially in business. So now I'm more on the alignment side. I'm not reaching, I'm not searching, I'm not reaching out to women anymore. Maybe that's a bad thing. I'm not. I'd rather it to just happen naturally and we align, just focusing on my business. And if we connect along the way, then we connect along the way, but no more reaching out. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It'll be natural from going forward. But anybody had anything else to say about that before we move on to the last topic?
The only thing I wanted to add to is someone else that I was in a group with before. I'm just paraphrasing here, but she said, something to the effect that had to do with bartering. And I thought it was important because, bartering is in effect, essentially, it's supposed to be where we're both providing equal value, right? So you cannot, if I offer you $10,000 worth of value, you cannot come back and try to give me $100 worth of value. That's not equal, right?
It's
And
not.
so if we're gonna barter, and I look at her face, if we're gonna barter, can we please barter, equal value? Like let's make sure we're both providing equal value. I just needed to add that. Sorry.
Amen. All right. I thought we had more questions, but we do not. So what I'd like to do now is open the floor for any additional thoughts, reflections, or questions. Is there anything that resonated with you or anything that you'd like to ask the group? Feel free to say it.
I just wanna, as we wrap up, just kind of speak to, I don't want us to be jaded, right? I think there's such value in being in community, and that's one of the things that I'm passionate about. Again, having my babies and going through motherhood, like not having community is as harmful as the wrong people. And so I
Right.
don't want us to go into the new year where, we're wiser now, right? We've seen
Right.
where, we have all these different components. We're wise, we're awesome at business, we have, pure hearts, and you're bringing all this to the table and you're like, why is this recipe not working, right? So I think as we vet, I think that's the word that I just want to leave us with, that we vet and that we know that there are amazing people out here that, match your hearts, match your hustle, right? And that you guys can walk alongside and build with. I actually have a partnership that I had to search my heart. They had a partnership. I was working alongside them. The other partner was pretty toxic. And so I just cut them both off. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And so now we're back working alongside each other. And I'm like, I'm grateful for it. And I had to
Hmm.
heal, I had to grow, because I can be very, once you cross, like, I mean, I'm like a buffet, but a good kind, right? Like if you come in, you can have whatever you want. And so now I just raised the rate of what it looks like for someone to come into my establishment, right? But I just want to affirm that y'all weren't wrong for who you partner with or try to. You weren't wrong for seeking community. Business is hard, and it's actually harder this year than it has ever been. And I think we do need each other, but the process of vetting just looks different. And what I'll give you guys in terms of just what has worked for me this year is smaller projects. I think we kind of alluded to that, taking our time and things like that. But as you guys kind of mentioned, like for me, us doing this, something like this, let's just go live and see what happens. Are you on?
Hmm.
Are you present? Are you helpful? Are you whatever? And so I've just scaled back what collaboration can look like for me. And if we pass that round, then we go to the next round. And maybe we do one event together and we see what
Hmm.
happens. But it is like a graduation process. But I don't think y'all were saying this, but I don't want us to ever, we're hard on ourselves as women, right? When things don't go a certain way.
We
And
are.
if us being isolated is honestly, like I said, just as bad as us partnering with the wrong people. And so keep your heart, keep the optimism. I think being able to just vet people out and know that there's a true gift associated with being with the right people.
I believe that wholeheartedly. Anybody else?
Yes, I just wanted to say a couple of things before I wrap up. One, I do want to say, like, even outside of like the different things and examples that I gave, one thing that since coming back home, even though I know it would be temporary, people that I had, sometimes there's people around you that you never even thought to like hang out with them, or you thought to hang out with them or connect with them, but it didn't align. I literally had a lash tech for almost 11 years. She only did my lashes. We never hung out, nothing like that. We literally just did Friendsgiving together after me knowing her for 11 years. So I say that to say it along with her sister. Her sister was doing my hair and she was doing my lashes, and we've known each other for 11 plus years. And we just had our first, well, me and her sister, we actually did, I started doing this self-date thing, and people start seeing the content on Instagram and TikTok and stuff. And so then people start inboxing me saying like, I want to come along. And I'm like, well, wait, this is supposed to be self dates, but okay, like, y'all can come. And so me and her sister, we ended up doing like a friend movie night where we went to get wings, and then we went to the movies, and we were late to the movie. So it's kind of like we snuck in a little bit. It was really fun at our big age, but it was really nice. And then from there, me and my lash tech and her, we just did, she had an Awaiting to Excel event, and we went to that, and everybody's in different spaces in their lives and relationship wise, and we were able to just have a night with just women having fun. And then we just did the big gift, the big smile small gifts trend. I don't know if you guys know about that, where like you dump out these small gifts on the table. We went to Bonefish Grill. They made a reservation. It was four of us. We went and we all dumped gifts out on the table after we ate, and we really had a great time. So I'm saying this because I definitely want Radesha to hear this and everyone to hear this. Even though you may have got burnt, even though you may have feel like you gotten used over time with certain people, don't give up, because a lot of people say like no new friends and all of that. I don't stick to that, because I find that as I'm getting older, because my life is so hectic, the same expectations I had 10 years ago is not the expectations I have now. Half the time I'm
True.
too busy to even make time. So it's like when I can make time, I do. But when we're so busy and so consumed, it's hard for me to even have an expectation for anybody to just have so much time for me, because I barely be having time for me. You get what I mean? So just have grace, pray. That's the number one thing. Just pray and ask God to send you the right people. Ask God to send your people and what that looks like. Because we'll pray for a man, we'll pray for a new home, we'll pray for a new car, we'll pray for all these different things. But I even do that now in my business. God, send me the clients that I need to have. Send me the connections I need to have. Because if I'm just doing it on my own, I'm going to continue to pick bad apples. But if God
Mhm.
sends the aligned people for me, and I'm telling him and describing what those people are like, it's like describing your target audience. Who are those type of people that you're trying to connect with, or that you want to see you and hear you and understand you? Same thing. You know what I'm saying? So we're asking God to send us the targeted people he has for us, that takes you beyond where you currently are, and you're not going in circles. And just be open to newness, be open to those new relationships, because like I said, there could be some people that you've been acquainted with for 10 plus years, you never even thought to hang out with them, and them might be your people. And a lot of times people go after aesthetic versus authenticity. So at the end of the day, it's like, stop looking for the people that look like you want them to look like, and not saying that that's what you all did. I'm just saying in general, that's just how women operate a lot, especially now in social media content days now. Everything is an aesthetic, but I don't want an aesthetic. I want something real. I want something affirming. I want something that actually lasts on and off social media, not something that just look cute for a picture, but something that actually remains memorable outside of that. And collaboration, like Patrice said, can look different in different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be us working on a huge project together, walking around, scouting out venues and things like that. It literally can be something like this, where our sister in the community said she was looking for women to come together to talk about a topic. And we took an hour and 30 minutes out of our day to show up and collaborate with her to make sure that this episode was a success. Something like that. So just
Mhm.
keep those things in mind. I enjoyed the conversation, and I thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your input too. I love everybody's input on the topic as well. It was great. It was even informative for me, some tips as well. I'm sure it's going to be tips for other women, because we all kind of experience some of these things in some way. Because I don't know why it's so hard for women, but we have the most difficult time building relationships with other women a lot of times. So this is definitely a great topic. Did anybody else have any other tips or advice that they want to leave to someone that could possibly see the podcast? Dara?
I mean, just to reiterate my journey this year, I think, meeting people where they're at, being okay to say bye to some of those friendships. And, I had friends ask me, they're like, "Oh, what would you do if, so and so came back?" And honestly, I wouldn't even entertain it, because I think I've accepted the fact that some friends, unfortunately, are seasonal and they're not forever. And, the old me used to like spiral and try to dissect everything to try to figure out like where and how and what did I do or she did for it to fall apart. And I'm just at the season of life and this personal development journey where I'm just like, you know what? I'm not gonna force something so hard that's just too painful, because
Yeah,
I love hard on my relationships, and
me
I know
too.
how I show up. And so for me, if you can walk out that easily, I will not let you walk back in. And by no disrespect or anything like that, it's just that was it. That was the longevity of our relationship, and I'll look back and cherish the beautiful memories, and we'll just move on. And then being also okay that you have different friend groups. I think I've always dreamt of having like that core girlfriend group that like does all of these things. Like my husband, he's got like homies from back in the day. I don't. So I'm just like, man, like what a blessing, you know?
No,
But at the same time, I'm also, taking a step back and saying, what a beautiful blessing that I could even say I have groups of friends, because, I know some people even like that, right? So are
right.
they like the super core deep connections that I'm like super craving? they're not there yet, but I'm going to keep searching and, giving people the opportunity and, going through life and just, letting God guide me to who I'm supposed to end up with and removing that pressure. I think as women, we
Yeah.
have like a lot of expectations that this interaction has to be like this and da 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 da. Da. Like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't. Like just show up and have a good time and just, shoot your shit and like catch the vibe. And if you catch something weird, like don't overanalyze it, just move on. Like,
Yep.
it's avoiding that spiral and really leaning into the natural synergies, I think will just allow for you to connect with your people. And I think we need to normalize having different friend groups. I think we need to normalize shedding relationships that don't serve us anymore. And I think we need to normalize that not everybody is going to have friends from their childhood. And
Right.
it's okay that you make friends in your adulthood. And even sometimes those don't last because the ones I'm talking about are in my adulthood that aren't lasting. But at the same time,
Mhm.
that's okay. I take those moments of not loneliness, but those moments of transition when I'm just like, what just happened as like a moment of self-reflection and honestly growth and taking a pause and, you know, listening to the silence that I may have been avoiding in those
Mhm.
relationships. So it's such a great moment to self-reflect and do some inner work. And I think that also allows a lot of clarity when you meet people for you to
Mhm.
figure out if there's alignment, if there's synergy, and if there's trust and integrity and opportunities for friendship and
Right.
collaborations. Thank you so
I
much for
love that.
having us. This is such a much needed topic for like
You're so
more
welcome.
women to talk about because everyone, like, as we talked about, social media makes it seem like everyone's got their girl group and
Yeah.
it's that's not true.
That's not true. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining me today. I know all of you have businesses, so if you'd like to one by one give out your name and how people can find you in case they would like to connect with you in your business.
Sure.
I guess we could start out with Cashe,
Oh, okay.
then work our way.
Okay. Again, thank you for having me. My name is Cashe Arrielle. You can follow me on Instagram or any socials as Cashe Arrielle. That's CASHE ARRIELLE. That's on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the things. And then my agency's Instagram is Purposely Public Agency. And I'm currently working on my website. It's under construction. So hopefully within the next few weeks, I'll have that back up and running. But feel free to always email me at casheariel@purposelypublic.com. I check my emails, I respond. So definitely reach out and I will be more than happy to service you in the PR and communication space.
All right. Radesha.
Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Radesha, and you can follow me on social media. It's at No More Broken Records altogether. No More Broken Records. The podcast is Queens Don't Settle. It's available on iTunes, Google, Spotify, all of that. Queens Don't Settle, and actually on Instagram, it's also at Deesh Dixon. DESHDIXON.
I love the name of your podcast, by the way.
Thank you. Well, we are queens. Hello.
That's amen. Did we share? Hey. All
Thank you.
right, Dhara.
Yep. So my name is Dhara Mistry. I'm an executive leadership coach and a fractional HR leader. You can find me on Instagram at Dhara's World, DHARASWORLD. My website is www.coachingwithdhara.com, Dhara Mistry on LinkedIn. And I am launching my first group coaching in January for women, professionals, entrepreneurs. So if you are interested, feel free to send me a DM. But otherwise, thank you, Leilani, so much. And you amazing women. So wonderful to connect with all of you. Wish you guys such a beautiful, blessed holiday and top of the 2026 year.
Hey, and congratulations on your first group coaching
Thank you
session.
so much. Appreciate you.
All right, Patrice.
All right. Once again, thank you so much for putting this together, putting hope again in collaboration by having us
Yes.
in the room. So thank you for that, Patrice Garrison. I am a fractional chief marketing officer. So shout out to the fractionals out there, right? And so I'm the owner of Successful on Social. You can find me on social at Patrice Garrison on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. My agency is Successful on Social, all one word. That is on Facebook, that's on Instagram. And you could also head over to successfulonsocial.com if you have any needs to just help to increase your thought leadership on social media. If you're like, I want to make money. I want to make money on the socials.
Yes.
I am who you talk to.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Today, we explored why outings alone don't define meaningful friendships, what true friendship looks like at this stage of life, how expectations and boundaries keep connections healthy, and creative ways to build deeper relationships beyond the restaurant settings. And your presence and your voice made this conversation so valuable. So I really appreciate everyone for joining me today. And I look forward to possibly having you join me on future Boss Women Network roundtable discussions as well. And I hope everyone has a beautiful holiday season. And until next time, guys, bye.